Imagine for a moment that you're in the middle of a battle. Not a battle with swords or guns, but an internal war. A struggle with doubt, fear, and uncertainty. You wake up every day carrying the weight of your worries, wondering if things will ever get better. But what if I told you you're not fighting alone? See, we often believe that the challenges we face are ours to conquer by sheer willpower. But we push, we strive, we exhaust ourselves trying to control every outcome. But the truth is, there is a force greater than us fighting on our behalf, even when we don't see it, even when we don't feel it. God is fighting for you today, right now, in ways you can't even imagine. The question isn't whether He's working. The question is whether you trust Him enough to let Him lead the battle. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what happens when we shift our mindset from fear to faith, from control to surrender, and from doubt to trust. Because the moment you realize you're not alone in this fight, everything changes. There are moments in life when the weight of our struggles feels unbearable. The challenges we face, whether in our relationships, our careers, our health, or our personal battles, can make us feel isolated, as if we are standing alone in the middle of a battlefield with no reinforcements in sight. It is in these moments of exhaustion and despair that we begin to question whether anyone sees our pain, whether anyone truly understands what we are going through. We pray, we hope, we push forward, but when things don't change immediately, we start believing that we are in this fight by ourselves. But just because you don't see help doesn't mean help isn't there. Just because you don't feel a shift doesn't mean a shift isn't happening. Too often, we equate God's presence with visible results, as if the only evidence of His work is immediate change. But the truth is, God moves in ways beyond our understanding, fighting battles we don't even realize exist. While we are focused on the struggles in front of us, God is already working behind the scenes, orchestrating solutions, aligning opportunities, and placing the right people in our paths at the right time. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about faith is that if God is truly fighting for us, we wouldn't have to struggle at all. But struggle doesn't mean abandonment. When a parent teaches a child to walk, they don't carry them every step of the way. There are moments when they let go, allowing the child to find their own balance, to take steps even if they stumble. The parent doesn't disappear. They are right there, arms outstretched, ready to catch the child if they fall. That is how God works in our lives. Just because He allows us to walk through difficulties doesn't mean He isn't there, guiding, protecting, and strengthening us through every step. And we live in a world that values control. We like to know what's coming next, how things will turn out, and what steps we need to take to fix our problems. When things feel uncertain, our natural response is to take matters into our own hands, to rely on our own strength and understanding. But the more we try to control everything, the more frustrated we become when things don't go our way. It's in these moments that we must remind ourselves that God sees the full picture while we only see a small part. Imagine standing in front of a massive painting, but only being able to see a single brushstroke. From that limited perspective, the colors might seem random, the patterns might seem chaotic, but if you could step back and see the full masterpiece, you would realize that every stroke, every shade, every detail is part of something beautiful. That is what God is doing in our lives, creating something far greater than we can comprehend, even when it doesn't make sense in the moment. When we face challenges, our first instinct is often to ask, why is this happening to me? But what if we started asking, what is God doing through this? Instead of seeing obstacles as roadblocks, what if we saw them as setups for something greater? Think about all the moments in your life where something that seemed like a setback eventually led to something better than you imagined. A lost job that opened the door to a new opportunity, a failed relationship that led you to someone who truly valued you, a rejection that redirected you to a greater purpose. In every single one of those moments, you weren't fighting alone. You may not have realized it at the time, but God was already at work, closing doors that weren't meant for you and opening doors that would lead to your growth. Even in the darkest moments, when everything feels uncertain, there is a greater plan unfolding. Just because you don't have all the answers right now doesn't mean there isn't a purpose behind what you're experiencing. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting that even in the unknown, God is still fighting for you. The enemy wants you to believe that you're alone, that no one cares, that your struggles are too big to overcome. But that is the biggest lie you could ever believe. The very fact that you're still standing, still pushing forward, still seeking answers, is proof that God has never left your side. If He brought you this far, He's not going to leave you now. When you feel like giving up, when the weight of your struggles feels too heavy, remember that you are not in this battle alone. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to fight in your own strength. The very God who created the heavens and the earth is fighting for you in ways you can't even see. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, even when it seems like your prayers are unheard, God is moving. He is shifting things in your favor, making a way where there seems to be no way, and preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that holds people back from living the life they are meant to live. It creeps in at the most vulnerable moments, whispering doubts, amplifying insecurities, and making every challenge seem impossible to overcome. Fear makes you hesitate when you should move forward. It keeps you stuck in places you are meant to grow beyond. It convinces you that playing it safe is better than taking risks, even when you know deep down that staying where you are isn't where you are meant to be. The problem with fear is that it never stops at just one thought. It grows. It takes root. It builds walls around your potential, making you feel as though the life you dream of is too far out of reach. But fear is not the absence of strength. It is the absence of trust. Faith, on the other hand, operates differently. Faith is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Faith tells you that even though you don't have all the answers, you are still capable of taking the next step. Faith doesn't promise that you won't face difficulties, but it does promise that you won't face them alone. When you put faith over fear, you are choosing to believe in something greater than what you can see. You are choosing to believe that, even if you don't understand everything happening in your life right now, there is a purpose behind it. Faith allows you to walk into the unknown with confidence, knowing that God has already gone before you, preparing the way. Many times people wait until they feel completely fearless before they take action. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect circumstances, the perfect conditions, but that moment never comes. If you wait until fear disappears, you will never move. The reality is that fear is not something you eliminate before you act. It is something you overcome as you act. Every great achievement, every moment of transformation, every breakthrough happens when someone decides to take action in spite of fear. It is not the absence of fear that separates those who move forward from those who stay stuck. It is the choice to act despite it. Think about the moments in your life when you felt fear the most. Maybe it was before taking a big risk, starting a new job, stepping into an unfamiliar situation, or making a difficult decision. In those moments, fear made everything seem uncertain. But if you look back now, you will realize that the things you once feared have already passed. The things that seemed impossible at one point in your life are now just memories of obstacles you overcame. The fear that once seemed so overwhelming no longer holds power over you. That is proof that fear is temporary. But the choices you make in the face of fear have lasting consequences. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It grows when you focus on what you don't know, what you can't see, and what you can't control. But faith shifts your focus. Faith reminds you that even if you don't see the full picture, God does. Faith tells you that even when things seem uncertain, there is a plan at work. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting that even in the unknown, you are being led in the right direction. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with fear is because they try to predict the future based on their past experiences. If something went wrong before, they assume it will go wrong again. If they have experienced disappointment, they expect more disappointment. But faith requires you to believe that just because something happened before doesn't mean it will happen again. God is not limited by your past. He is not restricted by your previous failures, mistakes, or missed opportunities. What didn't work before may work now. What seemed impossible in the past may be possible today. Faith is about believing in new possibilities. even when your past tells you otherwise. Fear magnifies problems. It makes small obstacles look like impossible mountains. It convinces you that one setback is the end of the road. But faith changes your perspective. Faith reminds you that no challenge is bigger than God's power. No obstacle is too great to overcome. Faith allows you to see opportunities where others see limitations. It gives you the confidence to step forward knowing that even if you don't have everything figured out, you are being guided towards something greater. When fear takes hold, it makes you want to retreat, to shrink back, to avoid the risks that could lead to your breakthrough. But fear only has power over you when you listen to it. The moment you decide to move forward anyway, fear loses its grip. Every time you take a step in faith, you weaken fear's influence over your life. Every time you choose to trust instead of doubt, you break the cycle that keeps you stuck. Every time you choose to trust instead of doubt, you break the cycle that keeps you stuck. Faith over fear isn't just a mindset. It's a decision you make every day. It's a choice to believe in what is possible instead of being paralyzed by what is uncertain. It's a commitment to move forward no matter what stands in your way. Timing is one of the most difficult things to understand in life. When things don't happen as quickly as we want them to, it's easy to feel frustrated, discouraged, and even forgotten. We set goals, we pray for breakthroughs, we work hard, but when the results don't come on our schedule, we start wondering if they will ever come at all. The waiting period can feel like a test of endurance, a space where doubt starts creeping in, telling us that maybe we aren't good enough, maybe we aren't meant to have what we desire, or maybe God isn't really listening. But just because something isn't happening right now doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Just because you don't see the progress doesn't mean things aren't moving in the right direction. There is a difference between delay and denial. When something is denied, it means it is never going to happen. But when something is delayed, it means that the timing isn't right yet. There is something being prepared, something being aligned, something being worked out behind the scenes that you cannot see. Too often, people assume that because their prayers haven't been answered immediately, the answer must be no. But the truth is, the timing of your breakthrough is just as important as the breakthrough itself. If something happens too soon before you are ready for it, it can be wasted, mismanaged, or even lost. The right thing at the wrong time can become the wrong thing. Think about a fruit tree. If you pick the fruit too early, before it has ripened, it won't taste the way it's supposed to. It won't have the sweetness, the richness, or the full flavor it was meant to have. But if you wait until the right time, that same fruit will be everything it was designed to be. Life works the same way. Sometimes what we are asking for isn't ready yet. Other times, we aren't ready yet. There are lessons we need to learn, experiences we need to go through, and growth that needs to happen before we can fully step into what is meant for us. The waiting period is not wasted time. It is preparation time. One of the greatest challenges of faith is trusting God's timing when everything in you wants to rush the process. We live in a world that values speed. Instant gratification is expected. If something takes too long, people start looking for shortcuts, trying to force things to happen on their own terms. But rushing the process often leads to frustration and disappointment. When you try to force something before it's time, it doesn't bring the fulfillment you expected. It might even bring more stress, more pressure, and more complications than you were prepared for. That's why trusting God's timing requires patience. It requires a willingness to let go of control and believe that what is meant for you will come at the right time. There are countless stories of people who thought they had missed their moment, only to realize later that the delay was actually working in their favor. There are people who were rejected from opportunities they desperately wanted, only to later discover that something better was waiting for them. There are people who thought a closed door was a setback when in reality it was divine protection. Sometimes what seems like a delay is actually a blessing in disguise. When things don't happen on our schedule, it's easy to assume that God is saying no, but often He is simply saying not yet. It is in the waiting period that character is built, patience is developed, strength is tested, the foundation for the future is being laid. When you learn to trust the process, you begin to see waiting not as wasted time, but as preparation for something greater. You stop feeling anxious about things not happening fast enough because you know that when the time is right, everything will fall into place. Trusting God's timing doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means continuing to work, continuing to grow, continuing to move forward with the confidence that what is meant for you is still coming. It means choosing faith over frustration, believing that every step you take is leading you closer to what has been prepared for you. The moment you stop trying to force things and start trusting the process, you begin to find peace in the waiting. You start to realize that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It simply means that when it does, it will be exactly as it's supposed to be. Control is something we all crave. It makes us feel safe, secure, and prepared for whatever comes next. We want to know exactly how things will unfold, how our plans will work out, and how we can avoid unexpected struggles. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or strategize, there will always be things beyond our control. The more we try to hold on to every detail, the more frustrated we become when things don't go the way we expect. The tighter we grip, the more exhausting the battle becomes. Letting go of control isn't about giving up. It's about recognizing that some battles aren't meant for us to fight alone. When we insist on controlling everything, we take on a burden that was never meant for us. We stress over the future, we analyze every possible outcome, and we exhaust ourselves, trying to make everything fit perfectly into place. But in doing so, we leave no room for God to work. Faith isn't about having everything figured out. It's about trusting that even when we don't have all the answers, we are being guided towards something greater. When we surrender our need to control, we open the door for breakthroughs we never could have orchestrated on our own. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing while waiting for things to magically fall into place. It means releasing the anxiety that comes with trying to control what is not ours to control. It means taking action where we can, but trusting that the results are in God's hands. It means understanding that our job is obedience, not outcome. When we let go, we stop fighting battles that drain us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We stop trying to force things that were never meant for us. We stop wasting energy on scenarios that were never part of our purpose. One of the hardest things to surrender is timing. We want things to happen quickly, on our schedule, in the way we imagined. When they don't, we question whether we are on the right path. We wonder if we are doing something wrong, if we need to push harder, if we need to take matters into our own hands. But some things cannot be rushed. Some doors won't open until the right moment. Some opportunities won't appear until we are truly ready to receive them. The more we try to manipulate the timing, the more impatient and discouraged we become. But when we let go and trust the process, we begin to see that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Letting go of control also means releasing the need to understand everything. There are things that happen in life that don't make sense in the moment. A job loss, a betrayal, a failed plan, an unexpected obstacle. These moments can leave us confused and frustrated. But just because something doesn't make sense now doesn't mean it won't later. Sometimes what looks like a setback is actually a setup for something greater. What seems like rejection is actually redirection. If we insist on understanding every detail before we move forward, we will never move. Faith requires us to keep going, even when we don't see the full picture. Fear is what keeps us holding on so tightly. We fear failure, we fear uncertainty, we fear what might happen if we release our grip on what we think we can control. But the truth is, fear only has power when we give it permission. When we let go, we take that power back. We shift our focus from what could go wrong to what could go right. We stop operating from a place of fear and start moving from a place of trust. Control gives the illusion of security, but true security comes from knowing that we are not in this alone. When we finally let go, when we surrender the need to have everything figured out, we create space for God to move in ways we never expected. We allow divine intervention to take place. We step into a level of peace that control could never provide. Surrender is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. It is the decision to trust, even when we don't have all the answers. It is the choice to release, even when we don't know what comes next. It is the understanding that in letting go, we are not losing control. We are finally allowing the right things to fall into place. When you encounter obstacles, it's easy to feel like everything is working against you. It can feel like the universe is conspiring to hold you back, as if every door is slammed shut just as you're about to step through it. During these times, it's tempting to think that nothing good will ever come your way, that you're simply stuck in a cycle of misfortune. But what if those very obstacles you see as setbacks are actually setups for something better? What if the very things that seem to block your path are the ones that will ultimately lead you to greater opportunities, growth, and success? Obstacles often feel like roadblocks, stopping us in our tracks and leaving us frustrated, wondering why things aren't going the way we planned. We begin to feel discouraged and overwhelmed, questioning whether we're on the right path or whether we've made a mistake. But it's important to realize that every challenge you face is not just a test of endurance, but an opportunity to grow stronger. Obstacles are not there to defeat you, they are there to develop you. Every difficulty is an invitation to step into a new level of strength, resilience, and wisdom. What often happens when people face setbacks is that they become so focused on the problem that they miss the opportunity hidden within it. It's easy to get caught up in the frustration of the moment, to believe that the challenge is the end of the road, that everything is falling apart. But what if you shifted your perspective? Instead of seeing the obstacle as something that is in your way, see it as a doorway leading you to something better. What if the challenge is exactly what you need to push you to the next level? What if it's the very thing that will bring you closer to your goals? Think about the times in your life when things didn't go as expected. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, the relationship didn't work out, or your plans were derailed by circumstances beyond your control. At the time, it may have felt like a setback, a failure, or even a rejection. But now, looking back, can you see how that experience set you up for something greater? Can you see how that disappointment led to something better, something you couldn't have anticipated? That is the nature of obstacles. They often look like setbacks when you're in the middle of them, but from a distance, they reveal themselves as stepping stones to something greater. Every time you face a challenge, you are being prepared for what's ahead. Obstacles build your character. They test your determination, your patience, and your ability to adapt. Each time you overcome a challenge, you are equipped with new tools and skills that will help you in the future. The things that seem to stop you are actually shaping you, strengthening you, and refining your ability to succeed. The key to overcoming obstacles is to reframe the way you view them. Instead of seeing them as barriers, see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of feeling defeated by every setback, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger, wiser, more resilient? When you change your mindset, obstacles lose their power over you. You begin to see them not as obstacles, but as essential parts of your journey, tests that you must pass in order to reach your destination. Often, we are so focused on what's not working that we forget to see what is working. We forget to acknowledge the progress we've made, the things that have gone right, and the blessings we've received. The challenges can make us feel like we are standing still, but they are often the things that are pushing us forward. Every challenge is a lesson, a step in the right direction, even when it doesn't feel like it. When we stop viewing obstacles as the enemy, we can start seeing them as opportunities for transformation. Obstacles are also a reminder that success isn't a straight line. It's not about moving from one perfect moment to the next. It's about facing challenges, overcoming difficulties, and learning along the way. Every successful person has faced obstacles, and every successful person has had to learn how to turn those obstacles into opportunities. It's not the lack of obstacles that defines success. It's the ability to persevere and keep going in the face of them. The greatest achievements in life are often born from the greatest challenges. Every difficulty you face is an opportunity for you to step into something bigger than you imagined. The things that seem to be standing in your way may actually be redirecting you to something even better than what you originally envisioned. What seems like a setback could be the very thing that propels you forward, taking you on a journey that leads to growth, success, and fulfillment. Instead of resisting obstacles, embrace them. Instead of complaining about the struggles, use them as stepping stones to your success. Understand that every difficulty is an essential part of your journey. You are being shaped, strengthened, and prepared for the future you've been praying for. The obstacles you face today are setting you up for the blessings you will experience tomorrow. Embrace the process, trust the journey, and know that every setback is simply a setup for something greater. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to simply trust the journey even when it doesn't make sense. Life is often unpredictable, and the path ahead is rarely as clear as we would like it to be. We have plans, we set goals, and we work tirelessly to achieve what we want. Yet, no matter how hard we try, things don't always go according to our expectations. There are detours, obstacles, and challenges that make us question whether we're on the right track. But trust is about believing in something greater than what you can see in front of you. It's about having faith that there is a purpose behind every moment, even when it doesn't seem to fit into your plan. There will be times when you feel completely uncertain about the road ahead, when you don't have all the answers, when you can't see the outcome. It's easy to doubt the direction you're heading. During these moments, it's easy to get frustrated, overwhelmed, or even fearful. But trusting the journey means choosing to move forward even when the way is unclear. It's about believing that even in the uncertainty, you are being guided to exactly where you need to be. Trusting the journey means letting go of the need to control every aspect of your life and instead allowing the process to unfold in its own time. Often, when things don't happen as we expect, we assume that we're doing something wrong. We question our decisions, we second-guess ourselves, and we begin to wonder if we're on the right path at all. But just because things aren't unfolding the way we imagined doesn't mean we're off track. It's easy to get discouraged when progress doesn't look the way we expected, but the truth is, growth doesn't always happen in a straight line. The twists, turns, and bumps along the way are part of the process. They shape us, refine us, and prepare us for the next step. Sometimes, the most important lessons come not from the moments of success, but from the times when things don't go as planned. Trusting the journey doesn't mean ignoring the difficulties, pretending that everything is perfect, or avoiding challenges. It means accepting that challenges are a natural part of the journey. It means understanding that every setback is not a failure, but a stepping stone toward the growth that is needed to get to where you are meant to go. Life is full of seasons. Some seasons are full of abundance and success, while others are filled with waiting, uncertainty, and struggle. But each season has its purpose. Trusting the journey means embracing every season, knowing that each one brings you closer to your destination. There will be moments when you feel tempted to give up, to walk away, or to settle for something less than what you truly desire. During these times, it can be hard to see the bigger picture. It's easy to feel like the hard work, the waiting, and the struggle aren't worth it. But the truth is, every step you take, every challenge you face, and every moment of doubt is leading you to something greater. Trusting the journey means choosing to keep going even when the path isn't clear. It means understanding that the road to success, happiness, or fulfillment is not always linear. Sometimes the path we take leads us through unexpected places, and those detours are the ones that end up teaching us the most. When you trust the journey, you stop rushing the process. You stop feeling the need to force things to happen. Instead, you trust that everything will fall into place at the right time. You focus on the present moment, knowing that even when the destination isn't clear, the steps you're taking are still moving you forward. Trusting the journey means accepting that the timing may not be what you expected, but it's exactly what you need. Sometimes what we think we want isn't what is best for us, and trusting the journey allows us to let go of our limited vision and open ourselves up to something better than we could have imagined. There is power in patience. There is strength in waiting. Trusting the journey means believing that what is meant for you will come to you at the right time. It means understanding that every challenge you face is part of the preparation needed to handle what's coming next. Life doesn't always unfold the way we expect, but that doesn't mean it's not unfolding perfectly for us. Trusting the journey is about surrendering the need to know how it all works out, and instead having the faith that everything is working out for your good. Even the hard parts are shaping you, even the detours are leading you to where you need to be. When you trust the journey, you stop worrying about when, how, or why, and you begin to embrace the beauty of the unfolding process. The journey itself becomes as important as the destination.